Good morning, Western world. This is Friday, March the 14th. It's the last day of spring break, and I'm afraid that the days before the conclusion of the semester were just so crazy that I've neglected my YouTube channel and the video production. So this is not truly a review video, but rather I thought I might try to create a kind of orientation to where we were when we left off, and offer you what I hope will be some helpful insights about what you should try to take away as you go back to recollect last week's lectures and as we move into this week's discussions. In our final week before spring break, we had two lectures that were framed around this concept of ideologies of change. That is, ideas that are changing the norms of the 19th century world. This time between the end of the Napoleonic Wars and the outbreak of World War I, where we said there are a lot of these ideas, these isms, that appear and that offer critiques of things that have come from the past and propose new visions for the future. We introduced or talked about a variety of those concepts. We contrasted conservatism with liberalism. We talked about the ideas of Charles Darwin and the theory of natural selection. We talked about at some length about the ideas of romanticism and the ways in which romanticism is a response and a critique of both the Enlightenment and sort of the emphasis on reason as the only way of knowing, and its critique also of industrialization and the ways in which romantics see this as making for a very ugly kind of world. And we said that in place of those two sort of normative systems, romantics emphasize emotion. They emphasize the beauty of the natural world and national bonds of unity and identity. And then, of course, on Thursday, we were primarily focused on the ideology of nationalism, which we said at one level, at a fairly neutral or blasé level, is simply this idea that people belong to, in the way that romantics themselves had already said, they belong to some kind of national community on the basis of shared culture, language, geography, and political institutions. But nationalism, in truth, especially in this age, goes well beyond shared identity and to questions of superiority. Why is it better to be French than to be British? Why is it better to be German than to be Italian? It alters political maps. It creates a unified German state and a unified Italian state. And, of course, it also provokes these massive and very dramatic sort of foreign policy machinations as nations are competing with other nations to demonstrate their greatness in the building of overseas empire. And so on Thursday we talked about this in terms of British and French activity in Northeast Africa and the different agendas that are revealed in that moment. And that's significant, but it's only one part of a much larger phenomenon. It's that larger phenomenon that will be our focus in this upcoming week. On Tuesday we're going to talk about, in some detail, the ideology of the new imperialism. What are the ideas that make possible this massive increase in overseas activity? And then on Thursday, we'll sort of try to bring all of these things together with our discussion of Abina and the Important Men, to ask ourselves the central question: how have these ideologies, these new beliefs, these new understandings of themselves, caused Europeans to alter their relationships with people in other parts of the world? For me, this is the moment when we begin to understand most clearly some of the core elements of today's relationship between the Western world and the world at large. So I look forward to talking more with you about that this week. Enjoy the last weekend of spring break. See you on Tuesday.